Round, or raise your hand if you agree. Format. Raise your hand if you agree with the ACLU's questionnaire regarding ICE and immigrant rights. Will you support establishing a public fund for qualified nonprofits to provide direct representation in deportation proceedings to Fairfax County immigrant residents who cannot afford counsel? Do you agree with that? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you support the gun violence prevention efforts of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, specifically passage of red flag laws and keeping guns out of classrooms. Raise your hand if you agree with that.
Just keep our hands up.
Okay, those are the easy ones. Oh, one more. Raise your hand if you will work with our state partners to ratify the ERA.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
We'll take audience participation.
Thank you for the audience participation. Okay, and our last question, after which you'll each have 2 minutes for a closing statement. What do you see as Lee District's greatest strength as well as our greatest challenge? And I'll give you 90 seconds to answer that. Oh, no, the 2 minutes is for their closing statement, sorry. We'll let our timer readjust. Are you ready, Paul? Thank you.
Good to go? Okay. I think our greatest strength and also our greatest challenge is our diversity in Lee District. Be it demographically, be it economically, we have people that are very rich, very poor. We have people that come across from every ethnic background in the county, in the world rather. And that is an asset that we build upon, because I think that is how the county moves forward. We have 1/3 of the county is foreign born. So we may not realize that, but that's what's in the county. And we live with them. They're our neighbors. You just don't realize where they came from, because they're doing exactly what you're doing, going to work every day, raising their children, trying to make their community better. And I think that is our greatest asset. Communicating with them and getting them involved and on the same page is one of our biggest challenges, because some do not speak English as their first language. Some are working 2 to 3 jobs. We don't have the community groups that we once did. It's not as strong. We need to rebuild that. We need to rebuild our outreach to these communities as they move into the county. That's what I think is our biggest strength and our biggest challenge, diversity.
Kelly?
Move a little faster.
James, you stole my answer. But I think that, to expand, I do think it's diversity is our greatest strength as well as our greatest challenge. Part of my campaign has been that we need to become one Lee district. Because living here 20 years, you see a lot. And you see the disparity and the differences, whether it's the schools, whether it's the infrastructure, as we've touched on, between Route 1 and other parts of Lee District, or whether it's just simple things as the jobs that are available in different parts of Lee District. Those are the challenges that we face, but it's that diversity that's also what makes us strong. It's that diversity that brings us the opportunity to really develop a strength of culture and a strength of a diverse educational system. And so when I look at diversity, I think that most of the voices that we have in our community are really the same. We all want the same thing. We want a good, solid job to be able to provide for our families and to have a good, stable home and do nothing more than just have a good life to provide as a provider for our family. But the reality is not everyone has those same opportunities. And so part of what our challenge, as well as our strength, is how do we come together as a cohesive, collective one Lee district? It begins with the leader. It begins who is leading the district. And as a leader, the first thing I would do is provide a transition development transition team, along with working groups throughout the district that is inclusive of all members of the district and all demographics, whether it's the religious, church, community, school, HOAs. We need to make it collective, collaborative, and innovative. Thank you.
So I think our biggest strength is the richness of resources that we have. And by resources, I mean our people, I mean the wealth that we have in this county. We're the second wealthiest county in the whole United States. Our location, our proximity to DC, our transportation, as much as we like to complain about it. I grew up in New Jersey. Let me tell you about housing and transportation issues. What I think that we have such potential to take advantage of the resources that we have. What I think we're missing is a fresh perspective and a fresh voice. We don't collaborate well across the region. We don't collaborate well. We don't reach across the aisle to Maryland, in Northern Virginia, and also to DC. I work in Maryland and I see a lot of what happens there. It happens because of partnerships with schools, with universities, with nonprofits, with business. I've found Fairfax County in general to be absent in a lot of those conversations, and I think it's time for us to be present. I think it's time for us to build more relationships and partnerships. I've been at a lot of these Amazon meetings because the nonprofit that I work for is in Crystal City. Arlington is there, Alexandria is there, people from DC are there. Nobody has been there from Fairfax County, and I feel like we're missing out. We're missing out on resources that we could use here, and I would like to bring my experience working across the entire region to bring more partnerships and relationships and collaboration to Lee District and to Fairfax County.
So I'll start with the challenge side of it. I'll try to make it a little more interesting. So I think revitalization and reinvestment has been a pretty significant issue for us, specifically along the historic Richmond Highway corridor. And we have not had a significant office development along that corridor in many, many years. So what that means is we've not been able to attract a named company to locate into the historic Richmond Highway area because they're going to places like Reston, like Tyson's, like Herndon, because there's new office being developed there, and that's what they call a flight to quality. People tend to go where others are going. They want to be close to their customers, their suppliers, and their competitors. So now I'm going to flip it onto this positive side. So the fact that we don't have a lot of office means that there's an opportunity for us to get more office, and there's a strength in that. If you are Amazon, you're going to have a bunch of folks who are going to say, I want to be close to Amazon because I am their customer, or I am their supplier, or I am their competitor. So the question is going to be, where will you locate to be close to your customer, supplier, competitor? You could do it in Arlington, you could do it in Alexandria, but I'm going to argue it's going to be more expensive. So the opportunity is going to be here in Lee District, just down the road, right off of the yellow line. So I'm going to argue that this is an opportunity for us to position the corridor to attract that new business. We get those businesses that come, they'll create jobs, there'll be opportunities for our residents, and going back to the point about giving people, and that's those disadvantaged folks in this community, the opportunity to compete for those jobs and move into the middle class. Thank you.
Kelly, you'll start our